everybody, I'm Mailou from Plants by Lulu and welcome on my channel. Today I'm going to show you some of the cuttings I made a week ago. Sadly I don't have footage of that, but I can show you the progress they made in water because I'm rooting them in water, and I will also talk a bit about those plants here. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and let's go! So let's talk about these plants first. These plants are standing here on my living room table because they're kind of in quarantine. And I know there are lots of plants there, so how much quarantine is this? But this is kind of the only place in the house where I can space them out and kind of treat them. So this is what it is. This plant had a whole infestation of spider mites. I think this is the Ficus geveriana, but I'm not sure. Then we go on to the Hoya Mathilde Splash and this Hoya Calistophylla. And I don't know, maybe you've seen it in my previous videos, but I really was on the fence on this one because I didn't like this one anymore. And as you may notice, this one is a lot shorter. And that is because I chopped off most of the leaves. Because this one got a scale infestation. And both, by the way, had scale. But this one got a scale infestation, I think a year ago. Then I, treated it. It was gone. And then I noticed it came back a week ago. And so I chopped it off. It was like this long. I chopped everything off. Didn't root anything because everything was under the scale. Managed to salvage this, and now I have this. And I'm very happy because this is treatable for scale. That length wasn't really treatable for me, and I kind of like this plant now again because of its size. So these three plants are kind of in quarantine. So in these two are my aroid cuttings. And in this one I have most of my Hoya cuttings. I also made 3 other cuttings, but their nodes already had roots, so they're still in soil. This is one of them. And this one already has a big grow point. This is the other one. And this one also has a growth point, but not as big. So those were the variegated Epipremnum cuttings. And then I have here the Philodendron Florida Beauty cutting. And this one also has new growth. And of course this is not really a cutting, but I took the top of my Florida Beauty and put that one in soil because it has most of the plant's roots. And that's this one. And as you can see, this has 4 leaves with a new growth point incoming. And as you can see, this one is just kind of a full plant still, and the variegation on this one is good. The reason to chop this one up was because I already had 2 cuttings, one with this beautiful variegation and it kind of was steady, and the other one who lost kind of a variegation, but there was still variegation in the stem. So I chopped that one fully up, as you can see, and then I decided to also chop the second stem off because I thought maybe I can grow some new plants with the good variegation, with the steady variegation. And hopefully, maybe the new cuttings will take that variegation from the stem and will also produce more steady variegation. And so that's why I took stem cuttings from the bottom, and that's why they already had roots and they're already in soil. I will first start with the Hoyas because I don't think they already have roots, because it's a week ago. And if there are roots, a surprise for both of us. So there are some roots. They're also sticking, so I'm not sure. Okay. So this is a Hoya undulata, and I got this in as a whole plant, but I really didn't like the plant. As you can see, every new growth point has been cut off, and so I knew this one was, I think, a mother cutting. I think this one was a cutting taken from a bigger plant and was used as kind of a new mother plant. Not the original mother plant, of course, but I think that it served really well as a mother plant. All this excess stem, and he had like this long of a stem and only at the bottom some roots. And I just cut most of the stem and the roots off. But he's growing new roots. I don't know if you can see it. Oh my god. He's growing new roots. And he has one white root. But yeah, that's this one. Very surprised. It's so funny. I said the Hoyas wouldn't have new growth, but most of the Hoyas I can see have new growth. I have rooted this cutting because this was a cutting that grew. This grew kind of opposite of the grow point, like this. And I really hated the look. And so after like half a year of back and forth, if I would do it, I just cut it off and rooted it. But this was a week ago and it already has like so many roots. So I think I can pot this up. Not gonna do it now, but I think I can put this up again. Oh, and it has new growth. Oh my god. Okay. So okay. So yeah, that's this one. Okay, so this is the only cutting that didn't have any roots, but he has some root buds, so that's positive. It's this small cutting, and I don't know if you remember in previous videos, but there was a Hoya which really was shriveled up and really died. That was, I think, my only Hoya that really died on me when I was away. And I took cuttings, of which I think I took 4 or 5 cuttings, of which 4 rotted away. This one was the only one who didn't rot away, and this one was the only one which the leaves started hardening, because all the leaves were really shriveled up, were really thin, almost paper thin, and really shriveled up. This one was the only one who got hard again, and I don't know if you can see it, but he got, I think, 3 growth point buds. But yeah, that's this cutting, and this one is a lot longer than a week. This one is already in water for 5 weeks, and still, you know, he's taking his sweet time. But I have faith in him. Now I'm moving on to my aeroids, and this is gonna be interesting. Oh yeah. Do you see the roots? Okay, let's first do the Mikan cuttings. I have 4 Mikan cuttings, of which they all have new growth. Do you see? They all have new growth and they all have new roots. I don't know if you have seen it, but I've chopped my whole Mikans up because it had thrips and it wasn't doing good. And so I took a bunch of cuttings. Some died on me. So the story is that because of the amount of plants I have, and I didn't want to overwhelm my boyfriend with every rule and everything, I just told him he could like add water to the cuttings. And so some cuttings, because it was very crowded, didn't make it because they didn't get enough water for a longer period of time because they were on the top, or some fell out, or some rotted away. So when I came back, I sorted everything out, and these 4 cuttings were the ones who were left and the ones who were healthy, but they didn't have any roots or any new growth. So this happened in the last 2.5 weeks. So I'm very happy with that. So I also had taken cuttings a week ago from my Syngonium albo. And it is because a lot of leaves already before I left from the bottom were shriveling up. And so he was trailing because I decided to let him trail. But only the ends were having leaves. And so these are the only 3 cuttings I could take because all the other leaves were shriveled up. These 2 are top cuttings because I had 2 plants in 1 pot. And they all have new growth. Of course they're top cuttings, so it's a little bit easier. And they both have also new roots. So essentially I can pot these 2 up again because this is enough root. However, this stem cutting, it's not mushy. It has 4 longer root buds. It looks almost like they're air roots, not water roots, but they can turn into water roots. But this one hasn't done anything, and as you can see, the leaves started yellowing. So I'm really wondering if this one's gonna make it. Let's see. Then the last 2 cuttings are from my Florida Beauty, who didn't have any variegation. So this is the first cutting, and as you can see, he has 2 new roots and a growth point, a small growth point. And then we have the top cutting, which had a new leaf incoming when I cut it. But as you can see, it turned out great. He's still hardening, but I think it looks good. It isn't damaged at all. It doesn't have any variegation though, but yeah. As you can see, he has no root points. You know, some cuttings are slower than others, but despite the fact that he doesn't have any roots, he looks fine. So I think he will make it. Then the last batch. This is, I think, kind of a surprise. Ooh! Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm not gonna show you yet. I'm gonna show you them one by one. Let's do the exciting one first. This one is the most exciting one with the roots. And I took all these cuttings a week ago. Look at this. I'm gonna stand for this. Look at these roots. These roots are so... Oh my god. They look like kind of worms coming at you. I'm sorry if people are triggered by that. Oh, this is amazing. Okay, so just to show you, this also can happen. I'm not sure what happened, but 2 days ago, it got out of nowhere new growth. This leaf was still hardening when I took the cutting. This new growth point came in, I think 2 days ago, and now it's all shriveled up. That's okay. So this is the cutting. The thing with this plant is, first of all, this is a very big, beautiful leaf, and I was contemplating like crazy if I wanted to cut him, because I had a very big, beautiful plant with those leaves, and it was growing fine, and I thought, well, why disturb something that grows fine? But it produced so much white leaves, and it looked so ugly over time. Like there was no cohesiveness in the plant, and I really would like leaves like this where there is a fair amount of green, but most of the leaves were turning out like these, and I'm still in shock that this one didn't die. It's gonna happen at some point. This one is gonna shrivel up and brown, but yeah. The second one I took was this leaf, and this is also a beautiful leaf. The thing was, when I cut him, he already had this growth point, but it was so minuscule that I kind of scraped the top, so I was very nervous to see if this would grow into a new growth or not. But he has 2 new growth points, so I'm curious to see where he decides to grow from. And as you can see, he also has a fair amount of new roots, but they are a bit smaller than the other ones. So these are the 3 last cuttings of the bunch, and I can show you their stems. They have no roots. Oh, no, that's not true. This one has 1 small root and 1 very small growth point. But the other 2 doesn't have anything. And it's okay because I'm very surprised it's still alive because let me see. Yeah, it makes sense because this was a bit of an older leaf, and so the leaf was already established, it was already healthy, and that's why this one already has some new growth. These 2 were both top cuttings. These are, by the way, cuttings from my Philodendron Majestic, and the reason why I cut him was because before I left he got spider mites, and I treated him for that, but he got 2 leaves at the bottom and then very bare stems for like this much, and then 3 leaves at the top. And so that's why I cut the top off to stimulate a more cohesive plant basically. And the fact that they haven't like died on me, I'm very surprised because those 2 were kind of newer leaves. This one was still hardening when I cut it off. The same happened to this plant, only this one was rolled up when I cut him. You can also see that this one really hasn't unfurled yet. So those were a glimpse of my cuttings. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you that I had the idea for maybe the next video or the video after to do a repot. So if you have any questions, or if you want any advice, or if you have anything you want me to discuss, you can leave a comment down below and I will discuss it during the repot. I'm probably gonna repot those cuttings and some other plants I have from previous cuttings, which I already potted up, which are now due for a repot. So that's it. I hope you liked it. If you did, please hit the subscribe and the like button, and I will see you in the next video. Doei!